I was speaking with a gentleman the other day, and he was telling me that stories have a lot of power. So I figured I'd do a little biography of my life and see if I can help anybody else out that's on a difficult path in life. And as we were talking, he asked me, kind of how I got started with my business and where I came from. And I told him that the path that brought me out to Idaho from Ramona, California was I was going nowhere with my life. Every day I woke up looking for that next high, and basically that's all I ever did was care for the next high. And when I wanted so much more out of life, and me and Katie had been friends for quite some time, and for the last few years, I mean, probably since I was 14, I really, really had feelings for her. And then all the way up till, we were 21, 22, 23, but all through that period of time, probably till from 16 to about 19, 20, I was out on the streets living just a horrible lifestyle and not really knowing why I was living anymore, right? So I'd say I got together with Kate right around, 21, 22 is when it got serious, and we moved out here. Before we moved out here, it was like she was like, "Hey, I want to leave this state. I want to get out of here and start a new life, and I want you to come with me." And I was like, "Yeah, I want to go with you too," but my mind was just so jacked up, right? And I wanted to go. I wanted a new life with her. I didn't want to live the life I lived anymore. I was done living if I was going to live that life anymore. And so we're talking. She's in Ramona. I'm out in Borrego, which is probably about a 50, 60-mile difference. And she started heading out. She was heading to Idaho. This was about 20 years ago. And I'll never forget it. It feels like it was yesterday. I called her up because she was leaving with her without me, and she was already on her way. She's like, "I'm leaving." Okay, I'm going. I'm like, I called her back up probably 20, 30 minutes later. I'm like, I'm walking that way. And, I didn't have a pot to piss, and I didn't have anything. I didn't have nothing worth living for. She was my everything. She became my everything. She became the reason why I wanted to wake up. The reason why I found joy. And on this path that we took, step back, let's move forward almost 20 years. Speaking with a lady the other day, Miss Lori Dodson, maybe a week or two ago, I told her the story, and she said, and the way we left, it was I took off from my family, took off from hers, and I wanted a better life for the three kids because I fell in love with them too, and I didn't want. I wanted a better life for them and her, but the way we left, it was in many people's eyes, it wasn't ethical, I guess, to them, or it wasn't, you know. Regardless, she says to me, she says, "Dan," she says, "that's funny. You think you made all that map planned out, and God had nothing to do with that." And I kind of sat back and I said, "What?" So if he didn't want that to happen, he wouldn't let it happen. God made a plan for you. He made a map for you to save your life. And all you had to do was go, regardless of what anybody else thinks. And she says, where are you at now today? And I says, yeah. I says, everybody's lives are much better than they would have turned out if I didn't go with Katie. Mine, the boys, the parent on the other side of the scope that was their father's. I'm not going to say where they are today because it's not good. But I look back and then Lori says that, and she made me realize that, hey, don't beat yourself down. You did good. You're a good dad. And now let's jump back there to almost 20 years ago. And I wanted a better life for them. So I hopped in the Suburban we picked up. She traded a little Pontiac Sunfire in, bought this old junky Suburban so we could fit all the clothes. We had like $3,000 worth of stuff, or $3,000 and a Suburban full of stuff. We pulled up to the Capri. I still love that restaurant. And we stayed in that little budget inn for probably 3 weeks while, we had nowhere else to go and we had no way to do laundry, not too much money, and the maid service was getting really irritated with us because they couldn't get in the room to clean it, and they were getting angry and they wanted us to go. And so we found a little trailer park in Garden City on 42nd and Adams. And from there, we both started hunting, looking for jobs. I went to the Walmarts, I went everywhere, but I still had, like marijuana in my system, so I couldn't pass a drug test. Finally I went down to the downtown Big O Tires, and I spoke with I was able to speak with the owner, Mick Alley from downtown Big O Tires. And I told him, I said, I need a job, and I came in with my hat backwards, and he says, turn that hat around. I said, yes, sir. Turn that hat around. And I says, I'd like a job. He asked me a few questions, and then he says, well, suit up. He asked me things like, how long you've been working on cars? Can you do tires? I've been probably hands-on since I was about 12 or 13, and I'm 23 now. I'm pretty sufficient on cars. I can work on them. I can fix them. I can do tires, no problem. So I got a job that day. And before I got the job, he says, by the way, we have random drug testing, and there's a little van that used to pull up in the back of the shops, and certain times, I don't know if they still do it or not, but they pulled up back there, and he says, there's a P van, there's the urine analysis van out back. Go ahead and go take a urine analysis. I said, oh. So I went, I says, sir, I'm probably going to fail for marijuana in my system. And he says, he steps back, he puts his hand on his hip, he says, well, since you told me that, you have a job, and you're not going to get fired as soon as I get the results. He says, go take your UA, let's see what's in your system, and we're going to retest in 30 days, and you stay clean. You do that, and you'll keep this job. I said, yes, sir. Certain people in your lives, you don't know where you'd be. For many years, 20 years later, I still send them texts and tell them thank you. Like a father, I will never forget that man. So time went on. I stayed clean and sober since that day. Those children's lives and that woman meant more to me than getting drugs and building a lifestyle and a dream that those kids could have a solid foundation meant more to me than those damn drugs. Yeah, they consume you, and a lot of people don't make it back. That's what, every time I turn around, I hear a lot of people say, don't make it back. Don't take that road. I agree. It wasn't easy, but I'll tell you what wasn't easier. What would have tore my soul into pieces was knowing these children could have had a much better life if I had just straightened up and flew right. Now, I have 5 amazing children. That are loving and kind, willing to help anybody. We're not rich, but we are very thankful for what we have, and we have a much better life than we would have had if I didn't take that path that was laid out in front of me.